Hey YouTube, we're back. Yeah, so I don't know those of you that have been watching my stream. It's now taken me a few attempts to get through this specific section of the game. The last couple times I've tried to go through, I've made the idiot mistake of having my microphone unmuted. Um, I I'm not sure why I've done this a couple times now. I'm very sorry for that. It's more so a pain for me because I've just gone through two run-throughs of this section and taken an hour to do it each time. So we're gonna go through this again. This is exactly why you need to have multiple saves. Okay, you're gonna notice here I now have a save at the Shinra building and the train graveyard. That's because, again, I've gone through and done this run twice now. Pain in the ass. Make multiple saves if you screw something up and want to go back. This game is long enough as it is. I mean, it's fun going and replaying the game, but generally, in my opinion, I don't want to do that unless I've gone back. I don't want to go back and play it until I've beat the game all the way through. That way, when I go through my new playthrough, I can make different decisions in the game. If you're consistently doing the same playthrough, you're going to get bored of this game very quickly. And with this game, it is one of the best games ever made by Square Enix, Squaresoft. It's not. It's one of the best all-rounded games where it has a combination of great graphics for its time with the cut videos and everything, as well as the storyline is phenomenal. But it is very, very intensive. So going through and playing through that multiple times can be a pain in the ass. So we're going to jump right in here. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, and I might even skip over a section of it just because of the mass amount of dialogue that's in there. Actually, no, I can't even do that because that actually goes into our Golden Saucer walkthrough. So we're going to play through. We're going to try to get through this as fast as possible. Okay, so here we are in the train graveyard. And as you saw there, I've done the first thing that I wanted to point out to you guys, and that was the barrels in this area. Okay, you'll notice that there are three barrels in this area, look all the same. They each contain a different item. Okay, so if you go through here, you can skip over those, but they do have some pretty handy items. Okay, so the first one you get your high potion there. You're going to run back through that train, come up here, run across the top of this train, pick up your high potion here, and continue along to this section. Okay, once you jump up on that, you're going to take a quick left. Go up to pick up your barrel, to get your echo screen, and then continue back down here, where you're going to pick up yet another potion. Okay, so you want to enter that train there, and it's hard to see, but right down here there is actually an exit out of that train. So we're going to come across here and climb up this section, jump down this section, and then in through the train here. Okay, and that is it for the first section of this area. Pick up your final potion and you enter this section. Okay, and up here you're going to take a quick left. You can either go all the way down or take that first left first. It all depends on how you feel like doing it. Now with these enemies here, I'm going to slow this down. These enemies here, you want to kill off the ghosts as fast as possible. These ghosts will disappear after being hit once. As soon as they're hit once, that automatically makes them disappear. They will come back, but it takes a bit for them to come back, and it varies each time. So we're going to continue on. And we can speed up the rest of this fight. And you'll notice there, you see how the ghost disappeared. It will come back right about now. And again, fire is highly effective against them. Okay, so we're going to continue down, pick up our ether, cut back around, pick up our potion. We're done for items for that area. And again, for these guys, fire is most effective. Ice cures them, so you don't want to use that. And you'll notice when you have Battle Boost on, that's not really, you're not going to really get too much damage, or you're not going to have very much effect with it. With Eris's Limit Break, it heals you. Battle Boost automatically heals you anyways. I continue to use it just because of the fact that it'll boost up her Limit Breaks faster. Later on in the game, you're not going to have access to Eris. So you want to get her limit breaks up as fast as possible for that trophy for her limit break. Okay, and I'm going to slow this down as well. You'll notice this enemy uses status effects. Silence is the primary one that they use, which cuts out your magic. Now you can either use an echo screen on them to fix that, or you can just wait until after the battle. That is a status effect that doesn't carry on between battles. So it is easy to do it that way, or you can take it off. It all depends on how long the battle's going to take and who's getting silenced. When Eris gets silenced, I generally try to take it off her as fast as possible because she is a heavy magic using character. Now for this next section, obviously you want to jump in the train first. That'll move that second train car there. We're going to come around to the far side. You can move the train back if you want, or cut around the back. But you're going to want to move the second train so it meets up with that. Then you climb that blurry ladder. Run down here and pick up your last high potion. And we are done with that section. Just continue along your trains until you get to here. And that will take you to the Sector 7 train station. Now you can talk to this guy here. He'll say that he heard the rumor that the train, or the plate was going to be dropped. What he doesn't know is that it's going to be dropped very soon. And here we are at the pillar. So you can just run through this dialogue as quick as possible. Notice some gunfighting from the other members of Avalanche. And Wedge takes a nice big tumble and somehow survives it. Now, seeing as they can fit skyscrapers in this area, or small skyscrapers, that's quite the fall to be able to survive. Okay, so now you can go around and talk to these characters if you want, but really the only one of any importance is this guy right here. You can go to him, and he has all your items. Now, one thing I always suggest is to get some of these, just in case you do get hit with any of the status effects that happen with it. If you use too many hypers, it will. If you use more than one hyper, it will actually affect you with Fury. So you'll have to turn around and hit yourself with the Tranquilizer as well. But we should be good for all these items here. We want to save a little bit of money for our next section as well. One other thing that I would suggest is, if you haven't cured Sadness off Tifa, do that right now. But bigger yet is to switch over to your Titan Bangles if you have not done so. As well as switch your materia, because seeing as Eris just left, you now have all that materia sitting around. So we're going to throw the materia on Tifa since she has open slots. Now, you can save there if you want. We don't really need to. We have an active save. We're going to continue on. And we're going to turn off our settings here. So you can go and talk to these guys and say whatever you want, because it is something you can go back through and check the other ones. But really, the goal is to get up to the top of this pillar. Okay, now with these enemies here, they are very difficult, or a little bit more difficult, because they are flying. Your physical attacks are going to have a harder time hitting them. So you want to try to stick with mostly magic attacks, as well as they are part robot, so using lightning attacks is going to be very, very effective against them. Okay, and that's the only type of enemy you're going to be encountering during this climb. So I'm going to go ahead and put no encounter on so we can continue on to the next section. And again, you can talk to Jesse if you'd like. You can check both options if you choose to. But we're going to come up to Barrett. And he's going to give us the option to open our menu. So the first thing we want to do, jump onto Barrett, throw on his Titan Bangle, get him all set up. If you want to throw some materia on him, you can. It's not really necessary, but I'm going to throw the ice materia on him anyways, just so he has something extra to use. And then hit X once you're done, and you can continue on. Okay, so now going into this battle, you obviously want to keep your limit breaks until you get to this battle. You don't have to, but I mean, it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier. Also, you want to watch out for these pyramids. As he casts Pyramid, it'll take your characters out of play, so you're not able to use them. I generally try to save Tifa to take them down. You don't have to worry about sealing for Reno. He doesn't have anything worthwhile anyways. Fire is highly effective against Reno. Just keep in mind you want to keep a very close eye on your HP because of that pyramid attack. Obviously I have Cure with Tifa right now, so we want to make sure that if she's covered by a pyramid, we're not at too low of a health that we can't save ourselves quickly with just normal potions. But since Tifa hits with the lowest amount of damage, we're going to use her to take down all these pyramids as much as possible. And then just keep cycling. You can use attacks, you can use magic. Magic is a lot more effective against Reno. Throw in a couple limit breaks. And then once the dialogue for Reno starts up, it actually tells you it's the end of the battle. Now with Bolt All, it'll actually target with your all ability on one of your materia, it'll actually target those pyramids for you, so you don't even have to worry about setting an attack against them. But with the level we're at, we don't have our all materia leveled up at all, so you're only going to get one attack like that. Which is also why I saved it until the end there. Okay, so the next step is to go over here and talk to Tifa. Just gonna ask you to try the bomb, and you notice it's not a normal time bomb. Things booby-trapped to go off, even if you try to screw with it. And we just gotta wait around for Barrett to get his shit together and jump on that wire. Now it's always amused me how easily Barrett can carry Cloud like that. He actually takes a little bit more effort in how he's carrying Tifa. He doesn't really care about Barrett or Cloud all that much, but Cloud still manages to lift Cloud with one arm and hold on to him while carrying all of his own weight as well as the weight of the two. And as I've said in previous run-throughs of this, if you notice there, you've watched how many people just get crushed by that, and how there was nobody warned about the plate coming down on the top half of it. This is one of the Japanese ways of making fun of the U.S. media system. As most people know, when things go wrong with the U.S. military and things like that, the media automatically jumps in there and says that they try to wrap up the story to make it sound not as bad and things like that, or try to play it off as, oh, it was terrorists that did that, or no, nobody ever got hurt in this. There was no casualties. The Japanese, I find in a lot of their games, they like to make fun of the U.S. media for that. And this is kind of one of those sections where they do that. Once we get through this dialogue, obviously, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And also, again, you're going to want to push through this section a little bit quicker. You do have to come back into this area later on. You have the option of going back in there right now, or you can go back later and get this, but there is a materia hidden in that section, but you do have to come down here and go through the little cut section first. Again, this little bit of the game is very, very dialogue intensive due to the fact that they're trying to get a lot of the story out right now, so you know what's going on for later on once we enter the world map. But if you come back up into this section, you can come up here and pick up this big sense material. And that's going to make it so that you can check to see the health of your enemies. Later on, I believe, as you level it up, it'll also show elemental weaknesses. Things like that. It's always a good thing to have. I'm going to go ahead and throw that on Tifa. She's going to basically play my role of Eris for now, using a lot of the magic and status abilities, just as a support role. It just makes it a little bit easier to get through that. I'm going to go ahead and turn off no encounter for this section just to show you the enemies around here as well. Now, in your previous playthrough of this area, you'll have seen a lot of these guys, but the houses particularly are fairly difficult to deal with. Again, this is a very heavy magic-intensive fight. You want to use a lot more of your fire and bolt abilities against this enemy, but as soon as you see that happen, you know that the enemy's health is now low. So it's only going to take a few more attacks, but that said, the attacks the enemy has once that transformation is made are a lot more effective. This suicide drop is one of the bigger ones, being able to attack multiple characters at once. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep a close eye on your health. And yeah, just make sure you're keeping an eye on your health and you don't get snagged by that attack. Now you can also get into battles in this area as well, and this will show you the other enemies we have to deal with. Okay, so we got these little hedgehog guys, and we've got the, I guess you can call them remora with legs. They're pretty weird looking enemies, but in the gist of it, that's what they are. The easiest way to take out those remora guys are to hit them with fire magic, which is the exact opposite for these hedgehogs. You want to start using magic, ice magic on these guys, if you ever get around to attacking them. I mean, this battle boost option that they've thrown into this game is very, very good for that. If you don't feel like going through a lot of the battles, you can throw on your no encounter and battle boost, and it'll get you through that section a hell of a lot faster. Okay, so we're going to come back into the Sector 6 slums. And now you can go back into these buildings, get any materia you missed, or go in here, get any items that you might want. Again, you've got your weapons up here. You can get your any Titan bangles you may have missed as well. One little Easter egg, what I was mentioning before with the media thing, we're going to get a little bit of a newscast here, where it actually goes through and says that it was the worst accident to happen in the history of the metropolis, but no civilian casualties, thanks to Shinra, even though we saw how many people get crushed by it. And then they turn around and go and say, we don't know how it happened, but we have a feeling that it was Avalanche. So they're going to go and make Avalanche look like a terrorist group instead of a rebel group. As you know, with a lot of the stuff that's happening overseas right now, that happens quite often. Rebel groups are seen as terrorist groups, and it all depends on who's giving money to, or who's helping the U.S. in the end of it. Now, another thing that I want to mention here is these Turtle Paradise posters. As you go through the game, you'll find these stashed all over the place. So anytime you see a poster up on the wall, make sure you run by and just give it a double check to see if it is one of the Turtle Paradise posters. It does play out well for you later on in the game. There's some payouts as well as items that you'll end up getting. But for now, that is all we need to do in this section, unless you actually want to go and do other things. Feel free to do that. If not, you're going to come over to this section. You can hit the save point if you want. If not, again, not a big deal. You just take your trip up into here, and we get into another extremely dialogue-heavy section. This is probably going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to get through alone. So if you do want to take off, go watch something else for now, feel free. But once we get to the end of this section, we are going to have another part of that golden saucer trophy that we're going to be looking at. And I'm going to try to drill through this as quickly as possible for those of you that are sticking around for this section. If you, again, feel free, go through, read the dialogue on your own playthrough, because, again, this game is a very in-depth game. The storyline is probably the paramount reason why people love this game. It's it draws you in really strongly. and you want to see what happens with each character as they progress through the game. So it is cool that way, but again, for the purposes of what we're doing now, it's really not necessary to sit through and watch it. We actually managed to get through that a little bit quicker than I expected to. This is the last section of the dialogue. It just basically goes through and tells you a little bit more of Eris's backstory, gives you a little bit more sense on how there's a connection between Cloud and Eris before they've even met. There's been mention of ancients already, and Cloud had a little bit of a, ooh, ancient? I remember that type situation. So this kind of goes to show you that there is some kind of background between them, and you will see that later on in the gameplay as well. Okay, and now we are finally getting to the end of this dialogue section. There we go. Okay, so now for the next part of your Golden Saucer trophy, you're going to go up into Eris's old room and speak to Barrett and Marlene. They just sit there and talk and happy together, but as you leave, you get stopped by Barrett, and Marlene's going to come talk. Now, when she says this, you want to say, I don't know. Again, we're trying to push down that affinity level with Eris and try to keep everything as high as possible with Barrett. That way we get him on the Golden Saucer date as opposed to anybody else. He is the hardest character to get onto that date, and again, it's a trophy. So if you're like me and actually do trophy hunt, you definitely want to know about that. But we actually, that's the last part of it that you're going to have to worry about until we get into the Shinra Tower. And right there they mentioned the wall market. So that's where we're going to be going next. We're going to be running back to the wall market. There is a way for us. We have to get to the Shinra Tower. And as you've seen in all the cut videos, the Shinra Tower is at the center of the metropolis. So you're going to have to try to get up to a top plate. Right now we're in the slums, which means we're below a plate. So that's what we're going to be doing in the wall tower, or wall market. Just do a quick save here. Okay, and you'll notice I have 3 saves here. This is my playthrough. I've kind of slacked on that. That's the playthrough that I was just doing that I made the screw-up video on. So we're going to push ahead here. Again, go through this section. Do whatever you feel like in there. I'm going to turn on no encounter because we don't really need to fight anything here now. We're going to go back down that red barrier there and up the pillar into the park again. Take a right here, and that's going to take us into Wall Market. Now in here, we really don't need to do anything extra. You can go through, look at all the different areas. You've got an inn over here that you know about. You should know all these areas from our run through when we were doing the Don Corneo area. Again, if you do want to know anything, feel free, throw it in the comments here. That way I know, and I can give you a quick look. If not, we're going to continue on with the next section. Okay, so we're going to continue up here until you see these kids run off. Sorry, just 1 second here. Alright, so when we come in here, you notice there's a kid staring at the wall. Go talk to him, and you find out that people have been climbing up this wire, and it will actually take you up to the plate. Barrett gets a little cheesy here, calling it a golden wire to hope. I don't know why. It's amusing. But before you even go up here, you just need to have this area started so that you can go and pick up another item that you're gonna need to go up that wire. Okay, and that is first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna buy us a new weapon for Tifa, new weapon for Eris, and 3 of those bad boys for now. We're gonna come back and buy another one, but they are an upgrade to your equipment. So we're gonna switch out our Titan bangles, and you notice it'll give you another linked slot instead. So if we do get more all down the road, we can apply that to it as well, or any other status effect or status support material. Sorry. Okay, and then we're gonna go back. Oh, we forgot to do one thing. Equip Tifa with her new weapon. Okay, there we go. Now go sell those. The reason we want to do this all right now is so that we don't have to come back later on, and we do need some more gil to buy these batteries off this guy. I'm actually going to buy 2 more of these because we are going to be picking up a new character shortly. And I'm just going to sell an ether just to get me a little bit more money. And this is the character you want to talk to down here. Now, if you're doing this on your own run through, other NPCs in the area will direct you to a shop that has a tank in it. There's your tank. This is the guy that you need to talk to. He's selling batteries for 100 apiece. You need the batteries so that you can turn on certain things in the area or up the wire, as well as get an item later on. Okay, so we're going to come back up here to the wire and start our climb. And as you climb, you'll notice these crazy kids sitting at the top of the wall. And someone has actually realized that it was Shinra who did it. And even told his kid about it. So you're going to come up across here and try not to get snagged at this part. You end up climbing up there. You don't need to go there at all. You want to come down and put a battery in this. So when you do that, it's going to turn on this propeller for us temporarily and open up a way to the next section. Okay, so you're going to jump up there, hop down to this section here, and put a battery in this bad boy. Climb up, and this is the more annoying part of this area. You have to time your jump on this fairly accurately. Actually, we're going to climb up here first, because if you put a battery in here, you get another ether, like the one we just sold off. That's why I wasn't too worried about selling that there. Okay, so with this swinging, we're going to slow this down right there. You want to hit it just before the bottom of that pole touches that wire. Any earlier than that and you're going to miss it completely. Any later than that and you'll miss it completely. And it can get annoying. I've had run-throughs where it's taken me 5-6 attempts to actually hit it properly. It's not fun. But we're going to climb up here, and in this section here you want to cut over to the left. It can be a little tricky to hit it, but you climb up here. Now if you climb down the other side of this, it'll drop you down to that same section we climbed up to get the ether, so avoid that. You're just going to climb up there and cut back down the wire a bit. And now we are at the Shinra building. And look at that, I've actually managed to do this run in half the time it took me to do my last one. So this section here, I don't believe it affects your golden saucer date, but It's more so dependent on what you feel like doing. If you want to get into more battles, by all means, you get two options here. Security is pretty light, so you can either run in through the front door, or you can be smart and sneak in the back door and go up the stairs. Going in through the stairs actually eliminates part of your run up through the building, allows you to go in at a higher level. That way you avoid a large amount of the battling that'll go on in there. If you go in through the side, obviously that's the bonus. If you go in through the front, you're going to be able to get more experience. So it's going to allow you to level up your limit breaks, as well as level up your characters and materia. But you do have to make a decision before you can proceed through this area. For this run through, I'm going to bust in through the front door, just to give you a little bit more in-depth look at what you're going to be looking at inside the Shinra building instead of just running up a flight of stairs. That can get quite annoying because you just do circles, circles, and circles, and circles. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and save one last time here before we proceed, just so all our saves are up to date. And I'm even going to steal this save. You'll notice there my personal run through is actually an hour and 20 minutes longer than my previous run through of this section, and it was a full hour and 40 minutes longer than this run through. So it all depends on what you're doing, how much you're looking around, and things like that. I tend to do a lot of dialogue, running around, reading as much as possible, speaking to as many people as possible, because it does give you a few little hints, a few little Easter eggs and things like that. So you walk in through the front door, you're immediately met by 4 enemy. As you can see, the number of enemy that attack you does not correlate to the number of enemy you're going to be fighting. And on these characters, I believe fire is most effective because they are humans. Again, machines tend to take a lot more damage from lightning attacks and things like that. Bolt. And the elevators do not work in this section, but there are a few little side rooms you can go into that will give you something extra. Not to mention it's fun chasing those guys around sometimes. And this is just going to take you up to the next level. Oh, this is actually going to take you up higher than the next level. If you go up the stairs there are also a couple back rooms you can go into. There's a couple small items you can pick up in there. Nothing too strenuous. I mean, it'll take up more time to go there than what it's worth. So we're just going to take this. Alarm goes off, and it's going to stop us at the same level as you would be at if you had taken the stairs. Only you've got more experience from doing the run through. Also, there's enemies to fight if you go up the stairs as well. So we're on level 17, and we've got to make our way up to the top level. I believe it will stop at random spots as we're going up, just to give us more people to fight. Again, this is why these stairs tend to be a better choice if you want to avoid all of that. It's kind of like a roulette. Okay, so with these enemies, these are a little bit more tricky. They are 2-level enemies. So what that means is basically, as you see there, one level is their armor, and then the next level is their character. And their attacks change depending on what form they're in. But either way, your best bet Physical attacks don't always hit them because they are high agility enemies, but magic attacks will be highly effective, especially Bolt. And in between each of these battles, it does give you the ability to go in and cure up your characters. That's also another thing that I'd like to show you is if you go into this menu, you can use magic, cure abilities, stuff like that, status effects, removal, magic like that. Anything that isn't battle specific. You can also go in and change your order. Now, what that will allow you to do is if you're in the front row, you use your front row for anybody that's doing high amounts of physical damage. If you're using magic, you shift them into the back row. The reason for doing this is in the front row, you're able to do more damage, but you take a higher amount of damage. If you're in the back row, you take less damage, but you deal less damage. So it's basically your magic doesn't vary depending on what row you're in, but everything else does. Okay, and there's another status effect that doesn't carry on after your battles, which is Confuse. Confuse is a pain in the butt for the most part, but as long as you can either wait for an enemy to hit you again, or you can just take them out automatically. Or you can go and attack them with one of your own characters and take a smaller amount of damage, but you're also going to be able to stop them from being confused, allow them to still be used in battle. Okay, and we're slowly making our way up. A couple more battles here. And as you can tell, these enemies tend to have a lot more armor as well, so they're a bit more difficult to kill off, but it shouldn't be too crazy. And there we go, level 59. So now that we're in here, this part gets a little bit more difficult to do later on in the tower, just because you'll end up hitting parts where you have to sneak by enemies and things like that. And there's also a little trick to a later on area where you have to open up doors in certain sequences to be able to get items. And you can get some pretty wicked items out of it. Keycard 60 is the first thing we need to pick up in here. This will allow us to go into these elevators and go up one level. As you can see there, we need to get to level 69. Alright, and it gives us a cutscene to show our guys getting out at level 60 and show why the alarm is no longer going off, or is not going off in this section. Okay. So this is the section I was talking about, sneaking past enemies. We're going to have to make our way past these dummies, so we're going to slow it down a bit, that way we can try to get this through in one go. It can be a little bit more difficult, just because you have to get across first, and then direct the other characters on how to get across. Time their approach as best as possible. So as you can see, there's a bit of a pattern to how these guys go around. So you can make it to the second one without anybody seeing you, no problem. But in this section here, you're going to want to wait until they are all moving around, and you can dart straight over. If you time it properly, you can get across. If not, you might get caught by them and you'll have to do the run again. So now with this, you use the X button to get Barret to come across. And again, you want to time it to when the guards are moving. And if you time it properly, you can actually jump fairly quickly. There we go. There's the first section done. Now this second section is where it gets a little bit more difficult because, as you can see, the guys are running. Okay, and now we go and do the same thing. Call Barret across. And call Tifa across. Oh, and see, there you go, we got caught. So now we'll be going into a battle. These battles kind of suck because you actually have to target each character or each enemy. Yes, I'm going to cheat in this section because there's really, I've already given you the walkthrough on how to beat these enemies, so might as well just use it to heal myself quickly and get rid of these guys as fast as possible. Again, 2-tier enemies, so you're going to be breaking off their armor first and then going through and killing them. They aren't very strong once their armor's off, so it's not too crazy, but at the same time, you do have to make sure that you're doing it properly. And see, this is why you want to jump through it as fast as possible on your first run through. Makes it really annoying trying to get through it again. Oh, I just screwed that up. Alright, third time's the charm. Okay, so just take your time in this part. It's not too important to get through it quickly. It's all up to you, really, how fast you do it. And obviously, if you get seen, you have to start over again, so it's better just to take your time. Don't rush it. And if you follow the pattern well, I mean, it's not difficult to get it done properly and quickly the first time around. I just made a little bit of a mistake doing that in the way that I did it. Okay, so we're just going to proceed up the stairs into level 61, and you'll notice that the door is already open, even though we don't have a keycard for it. Okay, so just explaining that you need key cards to get to the 60th floor, 65th floor. You need a key card for each floor as you go up. As I said, this floor is the only floor that you're going to be able to get onto without a key card. But if you go around, you can start talking to some of these characters and you'll find a key card eventually that will allow you to go up into another area. Okay, so as you see, you can talk to all these characters here. And this is the character you want. So you want to make sure you don't ask them where Eris is. Obviously, it'll tip them off to who you are. So you just go with the 3 dots. It'll make him think that you're part of the repair crew or repair division, and he'll give you his key card. Allows you to continue on to section 62. Now this section is actually quite complicated. What the trick is with this is you have to go around and find combinations through looking at these books. Each section should be labeled, or will tell you a number, and that number there will give you the code for later on. Basically what you need to do is you go out front of each room and look at your placards. Your placards will tell you what the library section is pertaining to. Then when you go back through, or go into your sections, it'll give you a number with a title, and you have to find the title that doesn't fit in that section to get that number. Okay, so this first one here is Peace and Preservation. So we go here, reactor construction chart. Doesn't really fit in with that. So the number 5. Mako weaponry, Heidegger's Shinra peace law, materia production and its military uses, economic report, anti-Shinra activities, and plan for new land and weapons. So obviously the only one that doesn't really fit in that would be the reactor construction chart. So you want to remember the number 5. Okay, and then we'll go into Shinra Inc. Space Development, or Space Division Research, Modern History of Space, Volume 1, Volume 2, Space Dev Program. Come on, read the book. Space Mission, Special Peacekeeping Laws, so 3. 3 is your next number, so we've got 5 and 3 so far. Science Research, the Genova Project, Data on Experimental Animals, Dr. Gast, the Ancients in History, Mako Energy, Plant Improvements, Final Evolutionary Steps. So we're going to say it's the Ancients in History, number 14. So 5, 3, and 14 are what we have so far. And Urban Development. Plate Construction, Urban Planning, City Map, Biological Characteristics of the Ancients, so 1. 5, 3, 14, and 1. Now, with all that, the 5, 14, 3, and 1 will give you 4 letters. So, A, B, C. C would be your first letter. Or C would be one of the letters. 5. E. I need a pen here. So we've got E, A, C, and N. Okay, so we go through here. So obviously going through, I definitely found one of the things wrong here. Because, as I said, they're going to correlate to letters. Okay? So far, I don't see any that match the ones that we've looked up. There is nothing with a C at all. So we're going to go back through and we're going to look again. Again, it's one of those things, you got to go through, you got to look at all of these and figure out which one doesn't really match. And we're using military stuff in this one, and the only one that doesn't match any of it would be your 5. So E is definitely one of the letters. So we're going to go back into here. This one is Space Dev. Okay, so 5, 3. 5 and 3 are definitely the numbers we want. Oh, right. So, the trick is they all these numbers do correlate with letters. Now, the one thing that you need to know is what numbers correlate with what letters. Now, generally speaking, you're going to look at it and go, all right, well, a letter correlates with the number in the alphabet. 1, 2, 3 being A, B, and C. That's not quite how this works. What we're going to do is we're going to take that number at the beginning and we're going to cut through each of these titles of the book and figure out what letter it is in that title. And that will give you the letter that you need. So for this one, B. Number 1 in that title is B. Okay, then we're going to run back over here. We're going to go find our book again in this section. Ancients in History, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So H. Then we're going to go back up to this section here. Oops, that's not it. Number 3, so it's an E. Okay, and this one is 5. T. I think I might have miscounted on that last one, or that second one. Yeah, it's S, not H. So we've got B, S, E, T. So now what we want to do is we're going to come back over here. We're going to talk to this gentleman over here, Mr. Domino, and we're going to find the word that has all those letters in it, which is best. Now that we've got it in the first try, he hands over keycard 65. And an elemental materia. So we'll be able to use that for future battles. Now that's the other materia that you're going to be putting into a slot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fire off of Cloud and throw it on Barret. And then we are going to put that on Cloud. Just because I feel like it. Okay, and now we can go and jump into the elevator again and jump up to level 65. Now you can go through each of these sections as well. The benefit of doing that would simply be each section has different things that you can pick up. In here we have the multiple doors that we have to open. Now there is a very tricky part to this one here. You have to get these specific doors open that will allow you to get in each area to get your prizes. So you want to keep an eye out on how many doors you have to open to get to each section. Yeah, they only give you a specific amount of doors that you can open, and depending on what you get or what you hit is what makes the difference for what item you'll be getting at the end. See, and it gives you 3 chances to open up doors. Now keep in mind that you're going to be able to climb out that. Now the first door we're going to open is this one up top here. Okay, and then we're going to open this door here. Okay, and then we're going to travel through the air ducts to this second room here, or through to the first left that you're going to see there. If you continue on, that'll take you back down into the starting area. But since we've only opened 2 doors, we have the ability to open up 1 more door. So you're going to go through this air duct here, grab the B coupon, then you're going to open up this final door. That will get you into the C coupon. Now that you have all three, you can proceed back to the starting area. And there you have it. Now you go talk to this, and coupon change. And because you've got all of those coupons, you get the Star Pendant, 4 slots, and all materia. Depending on how you go through it, if you don't do it that way, you can reset it and try again, or you can just stick with one of those items. But they are all great items to have. I'm sure you can understand why some of them would be good to have, such as Restore, or your all materia. Now you can use Cure on all of your characters at once instead of just curing one at a time. And you also have some new accessories. So your Star Pendant will protect against poison. Your 4 slots will lower your defense quite a bit, but it will increase your magic defense as well as give you 4 slots for materia. I'm going to hold off on putting that on for now, just because I don't really see the need to have 4 slots of materia, seeing as we don't have enough materia to even fill that at this point. But we will proceed on to the next floor. Now, when you're on this floor, there isn't really a whole lot to do on this floor. It's mostly just a place for you to hit an inn. You can run into the gym and try the treadmill a bit if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and save here. Okay, and I'm going to overwrite that bottom file. So we actually still have one starting at the beginning of here if we want to go back at a later point if we miss anything. But the biggest part of this area, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do around here. You can go through, check out these lockers. How's it going, Japanime? I think that Japanime Gamer? Right on, how's it going? But as I was saying here, you can go through, pick up items in this area. It's a good idea to remember that a megaphone is in here. That's for a character later on in the game. You can come back and pick it up. You will be returning to this area much later in the game. But again, just go through, check each locker. Some of them open, most of them are locked. But you will find some decent items in there. But the biggest part of this area is in here. Now, as you go through here, as weird as it sounds, you can climb up into one of these. You're supposed to be able to climb up into one of these stalls here and go listen to... oh, it's on the next floor, that's right. But you'll be able to climb into one of the stalls and go through the ductwork and start listening to conversations other people are having. But mostly it's just for the save points, those extra items you can pick up, things like that. Ah. Ooh, a new enemy. Okay, so for these guys, obviously, as you can tell, they can attack all your characters at once. So now that we have that Restore paired up with our all materia, we're going to be able to defend against that a lot better. But magic, again, is a very effective tool in these battles throughout this tower. Your materia is definitely your go-to. Now, with that treasure chest, that opens only once we've completed everything on this floor. This is the final floor we have to be on, and this section, it goes by each each box opens up as you put a new piece into the Midgar model in the center there. Okay, so you see how we have Midgar parts now. We can go into the map room. And as we get new parts, we can insert the parts on here, and each one will open up a new chest for a new part. Once we get them all, it'll open up the final chest, which will give us our key card to get into the next section. Ooh, that is a beautiful sight. And again, these guys are going to take a bit to go through. Hopefully we don't get hit by too many multi-attacks. But again, we have that all materia attached, so it shouldn't be too bad. There we go. Annihilated. No problem. Alright, and I mean, I'm still at a fairly low level. I've been skipping a lot of the battles as I go. So it goes to show you that it's not too difficult to get through a lot of the battles around here. But every time you come in here, you need to go to one of the sections with the red glowing in it. And this also gives a little shout out back to what just happened, or recent events. As you notice, there's still 3 more sections to open, or to fill up. But we don't have enough chests or 4 more sections that have cracks in it, but we only have chests for 3 of them. That last section there, that is our Sector 7 plate that was dropped onto the Sector 7 slums. Okay, and just continuing on here. Got another chest open. And we're going to enter it here. And I believe there's one more chest we have to pick up top here. Oh, gotta love the confusion. Alright, let's move this along a little bit. I've actually never seen that happen before in any of my playthroughs. So that's a new one. The enemy can disappear in those fights. Good to know. We're just going to go ahead and turn off encounters for this next area so we can speed it up a bit. That is the last part you need to pick up. And that will get you your final chest open. And we get the level 66 keycard. Okay, now this is the section that I was talking about where you end up going into the stall to listen in on the meeting that's going on. Now you can talk to these guys here. They'll just basically tell you that there is a weird smell in the conference room. You can hear whispers in the bathroom. Just people talking about what the meeting may be about, things like that. Okay, so it's nothing too crazy. And what you want to do is you run into this bathroom up here and walk into the first stall. As you get up, you can flush the toilet, or you can climb up here. And that's what we want to do. We climb in. this is going to allow us to listen in on this meeting. Another little bit of foreshadowing here. You notice how the only person that's actually upset about this whole situation is Reeve. Reeve does not like the fact that Shinra just dropped the plate on Sector 7, and I mean, I don't blame him. That's pretty shitty. Most of the people in Sector 7 had nothing to do with anything, but they got crushed anyways. And he is against a lot of stuff that they do. You'll notice later on in the game there is a reason for that. And it actually plays out very heavily in the gameplay later on in the storyline. And the Mad Professor. Okay, and we're just rushing through this. Again, go through, read through the storyline as much as you like. That's what this game's all about, is its story. The gameplay is still phenomenal, but it's all about the story in this one. Like, the graphics were amazing for its time as well. But the graphics would be nowhere without a backstory for them. So now you can run in here, check out their little warehouse, or their little meeting room if you want. Nothing really too important with that. But you notice Hojo there, and this idiot, I don't know how he manages to be a mad scientist, but he goes and leaves every door behind him open. Okay, so we're just gonna proceed around. You can talk to these dudes. They don't really do much. Actually, you can't even talk to them. You're gonna notice this area later on in the game as well. But we are going to continue up this section. And there is a weird creature in that tank. Wonder who it could be. Looks a little red. Oh, and it's a fucking tiger wolf. Some of the characters some of the NPCs and characters and stuff that they come up with in these games are pretty out there. First glimpse at the Genova project. Okay, so we are just going to continue proceeding up this way. We're going to ignore that guy. Grab this poison materia, sorry. And I'm going to go ahead and equip that. Now, as you see there, Fury. There is another status effect that does not disappear afterwards, after your battles. Now, as I said before, there are only specific status effects that do last through. Unfortunately, this is one of them. Easiest way to get rid of it is a tranquilizer, and luckily we picked up 3. Okay, but for now I am going to save here, and we are going to end this portion of the walkthrough here. Definitely feel free to join me. I will be back on tomorrow, roughly the same time, around 5 o'clock, maybe even a bit later. I am starting a new job tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But I will be back on tomorrow to give you the remainder of the walkthrough of the Shinra building, and we'll be looking at some more of the Golden Saucer walkthrough as well. There is a little bit more to do when we're in the Shinra building, and then shortly after we leave the Shinra building. Hopefully I can fit it all into one video tomorrow. As I said, I cut through this one a lot quicker than I did the last one. So, I mean, it's still, even at an hour and 20 minutes, it's not too bad. Again, if you guys come back to watch these through fully, jump through to any section possible. Don't think for a second that I expect you to watch through these all at once, and even if I did, you're your own person. Like, who the hell are you? Who the hell am I to tell you what to do? But with that all said, thank you very much for joining me for my live walkthrough, and I will hopefully be back soon with some more game reviews, vape news, and just general information. And I'll have some more walkthroughs coming as well. Alright, so for now, this is Tempest Panther saying thank you, blessed be, and have a great night gaming.